We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Talk Talk Live here on IG and YouTube. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live. Good to see you all again this week. Yes, we are back in the vintage Dun Talk gear. And speaking of Dun Talk, we are sponsored by Dun Talk, DUNTALK.com. Like, subscribe, comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. As I look over at my my Blue Jays uni, my night mode city wear jerseys, which I think are the best in baseball, quite simply. It's too bad the team don't match up to the jerseys because quite simply the jerseys are magic. They're simply utter magic. Anyways, back to it. Thank you very much for joining me at Talk Talk Live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, as always. And there I am watching the Legacy Awards. I do hope that you are enjoying your week thus far. It's been a rainy day here in the city of Toronto. Let's face facts, and it is shown to be unrelenting and nonstop. So again, but we are back here, ladies and gentlemen, to celebrate Dun Talk, celebrate Dun Talk, to celebrate the show, and we are back to know. And thank you very much for all your viewership. Thank you very much for all your likes. And you know what? We're growing in size. We're growing in stature. And and I'm telling you what, it's all about compound interest at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live tonight. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to discuss China's leftover women. Yes, indeed. I've wanted to do this show for a while. It's just that when Diddy gets in the way and a few other scandals got in the way, we had no time to do it. But this was in the can for a while, and I finally got a chance to do it tonight because Lord knows Diddy has enough problems on his plate. More suits are falling on Diddy left and right. And he's a man in trouble. He's definitely a man in trouble. But yes, thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live. Tonight we're going to discuss China's leftover women. China, and you know what? What put me up to this was the late great Kevin Samuels and more recently the likes of Fresh and Fit. Because Kevin Samuels was always talking about kotekoshi. Now, kotekoshi is when a certain group of women in Japan this time would literally live alone and wouldn't tell anyone of their death. And they would wrap themselves up in a certain type of wool, and they would die alone, and they would be found dead in sort of a sarcophagus-like state within their confines, within their homes. And it was certainly a sad sight to see because they didn't want to have their shame being reflected in public. Now, Lord knows we don't have that sort of thing in the West. But that's something that Kevin Samuels brought to my attention. And then with the likes of Fresh and Fit would always have certain China nationals on their channel, including the one that befriended Mr. Fit. And if you don't know, then the issues that involve Mr. Fit, then we had a discussion on that on Talk Talk Live a few months back, and Lord knows it wasn't pretty. So, we came back circling around to this one issue, this one problem regarding leftover women. Leftover women are deemed as those who have not found men into their early 30s. Now, usually it's the case. It's because of the case that these ladies are highly educated and upwardly mobile in terms of their careers, and as such, they are wanting a man who would measure up. Unfortunately, but they would take that ideal way too seriously, and for lack of a better word, they'd be considered leftovers. They wouldn't be married early because they're focused on career, and when they finally want to marry, no man wants to marry them because they're, we'll find out about that tonight here on Talk Talk Live. So let's get into it right now. You've heard about the inspiration, so we're going to get into the sensation that is leftover women. I'm going to move this first. I'm going to move this. Let's see here. First of all, shrink it up and move it up a little further up here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see around there. And shrink it up a bit. That's my face. There we go. This is my face. Shout out to my man. I forget his name all of a sudden. Jesus. Very funny man from Aussie Reviews. There you go. Aussie Reviews. Very, very funny man from down under. And that's his usual tagline. This is my face. So my face has moved up to a higher place, and now we're going to move into the video in and of itself. A very eye-opening one, put forward by one of the more dangerous men on the diverting hate study that was held more recently. He's one of the top 10 hate websites. He's one of the top 10 domestic terrorist sites that are out there. Anyways, so that's when the lunatics have run the asylum. Anyways, it is the one and only Legion of Men. Shout out to Legion of Men, doing wonderful things in the YouTube streets. I would invite you to like and subscribe if you are into the red pill, and or the MGTOW, or the or the MGTOW group, of which he is both a member. To be fair, but he reviewed this one video from. Was it Chinese from the China Observer regarding the dating the dating habits of Chinese women, entitled "Leftover Women Overwhelming: 1-to-9 male to female ratio in dating." Yes, it is that shocking indeed. Women of a certain of a certain age, of a certain caliber, there are 9 women to 1 male. Looking for that one man. Now, again, this is very reminiscent of the dating styles we have here in the West, and we're getting into it right now, and we're going to see about the similarities and differences, because this is indeed East meeting West. I thought it was East versus West, but it's actually East meeting West in this circumstance, because China is one of the great economic superpowers of the world. So let's get into it right now. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live. Like, subscribe, comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Let's get into this.
Overwhelming 1-to-9 male to female ratio in dating. Can you imagine that?
我感觉好崩溃啊。I feel so overwhelmed. It feels like all the bad things are happening at once over the past couple of days. I really wish I had someone to share the burden with, but I feel like I may never find a partner in this lifetime. I feel so helpless. Right now, it's not just about having someone who wants me. I feel like my existence in this world is kind of redundant. I'm already 36 years old and have no value in the dating market, no reproductive value either. My emotions are unstable, my personality isn't great, and I don't have much money. So I can't provide economic value or emotional value, and not even appearance value. It's only natural that people would reject me. But how am I supposed to keep going?
Let's stop right there, ladies and gentlemen. The amount of accountability that you see from this woman here, that's featured on this interesting look into the Chinese dating scene, is remarkably refreshing. It is something that we never do see in the West, and because again, women will swear to the day they die that their reproductive organs will regenerate year on year. And quite simply, that there are certain plateaus men have to hit before, even as a 36-year-old, you are allowed not only to date but to consummate with said ladies. So again, it is this is something that a Western woman will never, ever say. So the accountability from her is refreshing, and kudos to her. At least she realizes the clock's on the wall. It's not looking good for her, so she needs to act quickly, as Kevin would say, because she is part of no man's land, and she needs to make decisions that will be to her benefit, even if she has to. Well, let's see if she actually does. Let's get into this now.
36-year-old woman.
What the world? Wow, dude, she just flamed herself harder than any man could have. Period. Damn. Jeez. Dude, Chinese women are real literal with this stuff, huh? That is a logical take on why you're 37 and single. No Western woman would ever dare admit any of this.
Li holds a
Absolutely, as he's just said. No Western woman would ever confess that. Ever confess that. They think the world is still their oyster at 36. They think they're men, when in fact they're not. They clearly aren't. And the 3 pillars of youth, beauty, fertility are there. However, it eventually falls away in due course. And as soon as you hit 40, it's pretty much a done deal. And you are left with your decisions, either IVF or otherwise. That could have been avoided if you just saw sense. However, we are here and we are going into what the East says about this. And, you know, let's face facts. These Eastern ladies are, well, well, a little more straightforward and a little more realistic than their Western counterparts. Let's continue.
Master's degree from a prestigious university. She often refers to herself as a high-quality older single woman and frequently shares on social media the many difficulties she encounters while seeking a partner. She also discusses her feelings of loneliness and the pressure from family and friends to get married. On June 17th, she broke down in tears, regretting that she missed the prime time for marriage due to her focus on her career. Now, being single, she feels an overwhelming sense of anxiety. Milly's tears convey a clear message to all young women. Do not miss the best time to get married. She reminds them that marriage is not only an emotional support, but also a guarantee and foundation for life, urging them not to repeat her mistakes. In her
She considers herself a failure, ladies and gentlemen. In the dating market, she would consider herself a failure. The Western, listen, the gynocracy, the matriarchy will never confess to such things. And if they do, it's only in hidden quarters. A lady like this is a rarity in the West. A definite, utter rarity. And you know what? God love her for it, because she realizes the writing's on the wall. She doesn't have much, her pillars are not there for her. And sooner or later, she'll be passed on. Remember, by 2030, 50% of women will be single. Will be single. 18 to 35, it's coming. Are you ready for it, ladies? I don't think so, because what will be asked of you, well, if you want to act like a man, well, you're going to be accounted for as a man. So therefore, you'll have to work well into your later years. You'll have to account for your own bills. Any child that you have will not have a father in which can be counted upon for the most part. And, well, the consequences ensue from there. So, again, it is totally up to you. But this lady's giving you showing you the future. It's up to you to take it up or not. But a lot of women here in the West don't, because they think that the world is in their hands. So they think they'll be the next Ebony K. Williams, or Naomi Campbell, or who else? Dare I say Kamala Harris? But then again, Kamala didn't have any kids, did she? Right. Okay, let's continue.
Video, Milly regretfully stated, "I used to give myself many excuses, thinking that marriage was not important and that career was the most important thing. But now it seems that these were just excuses I made to deceive myself."
It's good that she's saying this stuff out loud. I know it's only reaching the Chinese crowd, but maybe this video reaches some of the women in the U.S. You got sold a lie on the boss babe, strong, independent woman, Sex in the City empowered, working until night, slaving away for a corporation lifestyle. I'm telling you, it's going to end in flame. You're going to be collecting cats and boxed wine. You're getting indoctrinated on TikTok with decentering men and all this other crazy ass talk, made to hate men and all of this. A husband and children is the most pleasure, pride, and enjoyment you could possibly derive from life. There is nothing like building your own tribe, having your own legacy, watching your children grow up, eventually having grandchildren, and just being a part of this group that's related by blood and will love you no matter what. This is insane that somehow we've commodified every single part of our lives in the modern world that we're living in today, under the corporate rule that we're living in today. They've turned dating into a profit, relationships into a profit, marriage into a profit. It's not about the community anymore. It's about how much money you're making, how much money you're spending, and how much status it gives you. All components of profit that corporations and businesses benefit from, but you in the end lose. And they're incentivized to drive a wedge between people and make them lonelier than ever, make them more emotionally unstable than people have ever been before. Because you spend money, you can manipulate an emotionally vulnerable person. And who are the biggest spenders today? Who's the ones driving up the largest debt share? Women. You can get a lonely woman that wishes she had a man that's like feeling that natural feminine urge to have children, who has none, and sell her on anything. Sell her on beauty products, sell her on cosmetic surgery, sell her on clothes, anything that could somewhat potentially make her feel better about being lonely. You know, this is why they project this strong, independent. No, they're weak, independent. The boss babe. No, they're slave. The I don't need no man. Secretly wishes they had a man. All the things they say out loud that they are, strong girlies, all this is literally just projecting strength where there actually is weakness. It's like covering up all the bad parts of you. I pretend it's like you're puffing up your chest. You're that puffer fish, you know, trying to cover up the flaws. It's sad, dude. And it's not going to get any better. So I tell you guys to get out of the West and go to more traditional community. No matter where you go, if you got the gynocentric message that I want to be a career woman, like this is going to be your outcome. It doesn't matter. Other countries have.
Stop there for a second. He said a lot there, and he made a whole lot of sense to me. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason why if you ask any sort of portfolio analyst, any sort of portfolio controller to start investing in cat food and wine, dog food and wine, it's because that will be big stocks in the next 10 to 20 to 30 and on into the future. Why? Because there'll be more single women around. And what will they need? Crutches. And what's the first of those crutches? What the first of those crutches will be? It will be some sort of dog or cat or animal that allows them to feel better about themselves and to not feel so stressed or negative about the world. And number two, a little bit of a mental delay in the form of wine. More like a Moscato or let's say a white wine, maybe a Zinfandel. Something of a lighter, sweeter variety that women will automatically drift toward like bees to honey. Why? Because when you come home and when you sit alone at home at night, being single and independent, guess what? There's no one there for you. There's no one there for you except a dog and a cat. Why do you think PetSmart are advertising and using women as their spokespeople? Because they realize that, especially on most videos, on most of their commercial campaigns, women are seen as the features. Why? Because they realize that, you know what? Single, independent women need dogs and cats. Put the two together. They've already done the math, and they're making you the example to which will make them more profitable. The likes of a PetSmart will only grow in business. Why? Because more women are going to need more pets. More single women are going to be more pets. Start looking at some of the ad campaigns for pet food. You're only seeing women there. I mean, you'll see a man every now and again, but you know, when a man has a dog, chances are it's one of the key attractors of women is when you have a cute dog. Simple as that. It's sort of a card you can play to attract a lady in your life. That is, if you look like a protector and provider. That is, if you do and you have a dog, it's pretty much a done deal. It's pretty much a done deal. If you have the look of a protector or provider, yes, it is. But that is what we're dealing with right now. The West, even the East, and here's why the East meets the West. Because, ladies, this is not just a problem that plagues matriarchal, gynocratic societies. It plagues matriarchal societies and big economies such as China. Because China has taken on certain capacities, certain abilities of the West, especially economically, where women are allowed to be educated, women are allowed to obtain higher degrees, and women are allowed to be single and independent. And as such, they are suffering the same issues as the West. So if you think that, and I predict that a lot of these patriarchal societies in Asia, in Eastern Europe, in South America, the more of a feminist hold that those countries take on, a lot more single women will be the end result. There will be the collateral damage of feminism. That is why the Legion of Men host here has said that, you know what, feminism has lied to you. It's literally lied to you and taking you away from where you are seen as safe and sound and within a loving relationship. You know the greatest title a woman can have over all of her degrees is that of a mother. Society respects mothers, put them on a pedestal. I put my mother on a pedestal. Most men put their mothers on pedestals. The only thing about it is a lot of these ladies think that being a mother is a cop-out, is a, how shall I say, is not worth the paper it's printed on. I can tell you that it does. I can tell you that it is. Most men can tell you that it is, because most men of upstanding individuals that are confident, independent, and confident, assertive, and independent CIA men, I got those wrong, but anyways, confident, independent, and assertive men, they love their mothers. In a kind of sort of way, we're all mother's boys at the end of the day, especially if we honor our mother and our father as long as we live. Those women will always be revered, and your titles and your abilities and will all literally come second to that of motherhood. Just saying. But let's continue. We have any comments here? Let's check it out. No, we're good to go. All right. Let us continue.
Far more traditionally minded feminine women, and it's much easier to pluck a good one out than be surrounded in a sea of garbage of strong boss babes, what's a man good for mentality that constantly fight you on everything.
Lee's video resonated with many users on social
Now let me
media.
say this again. Those women are being weeded out. You may think that the boss babe is... That's why the rising statistics of single women. Those women who will consider themselves boss babes are being weeded out. Literally. Men look at you, they say you're a boss babe, and 8 to 9 times out of 10, we don't want to deal with you. Unless you're a fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, submissive, we don't want to deal with you. We don't want to deal with the nonsense. We don't want to deal with coming home to find ourselves or another man being at home and are challenging us on all issues. Yeah. These women are being weeded out. If you ever see that. I mean, especially in especially when you hit your 30s. You had youth, beauty, and fertility. However, with that, especially in your 20s, you're at an advantage. But as you hit your 30s, ladies, it becomes a disadvantage. It becomes a disincentive. And unless you're willing to change your ways, and because I've seen it myself, where women have changed their ways and they are able to attract a good man. Unless you're willing to change your ways, you'll end up single. A lot of men are just checking out. They're moving east. They're trying to find as many traditional women in patriarchal societies as possible, or they don't want to deal with you anymore. So a lot of these ladies who think that they got life by the tail, and think that the world is their oyster and all the advantages form to them. No, they don't. And soon they'll realize that. Let's continue.
Inspiring many to reflect on themselves. In the comment section, some people said, when you're young, you always think there's plenty of time, but in an instant, you become an older single woman. Others remarked, I hope this reminds women chasing their careers that marriage is not a constraint, but true freedom. Some others comforted her, commenting, it's okay if you can't find someone. Make peace with yourself and stop forcing yourself to look.
Wow! Let me run that back again. That last comment is telling. That last comment is so telling. Let's finish this here.
Some others comforted her, commenting, it's okay if you can't find someone. Make peace with yourself and stop forcing yourself to look.
In China, they're very, very matter of fact about your prospects as a woman in their society. If you're of a certain age, if you're of a certain caliber, and you haven't found a man within a certain period of time, they'll offer this statement. It's okay if you can't find someone. Make peace with yourself and stop forcing yourself to look. They say you're a leftover woman. That is your fate. You made your bed, now lie in it. You never hear that in the West. But in China, sorry, it is still a patriarchal society, and if they deem you to be redundant, you'll be deemed as redundant. You'll see what happens when people are deemed as redundant later on in the show. However, that is exactly the matter-of-fact way that China sees their women, especially when there's a 1-to-9 male-to-female ratio going on in terms of eligible, those eligible for marriage. And soon the West will have this. And soon it'll come to a point where women will just, you know what? This is your fate. Live with it. You should have decided to find a man in your 20s. Men have a longer shelf life. Remember this, ladies. Men have a longer shelf life because, again, we can reproduce at any time, be it from age 1 to age 80 to age 90. However, of course, it's better to do it while you're young, while you're able. However, women think that they're men these days. They think that they can outlast time. You'll see when Naomi Campbell hits her 60s, 70s, 80s, and her children are still toddlers to growing up, that they're going to have to take care of her. And it isn't fun. But such is the way of a selfish woman who only wants things her way. She will be left alone. I'm telling you this, ladies. Don't think that you can crap out gold bricks into your 40s, into your 50s, into your 60s. It's not going to happen. As much as the gynocracy, as much as feminism teaches you that, it's not going to happen. There has to come a point you have to come to Jesus and realize you fucked up. As seen here. Let's continue.
Emotional counselor Wang Lingguo posted a video on Douyin on July 19th sharing,
"If you're getting older and still single, you actually don't have to feel too bad about it. Who says getting married will definitely make you feel happy? Maybe staying single at this age is just saving you from suffering, so try to be more optimistic."
Mili's situation.
That's like a bullshit pat on the back, though. It's like a psychological trick to try to make yourself feel better that you failed in life. Yes, there's benefits to try to not be so fixated on the fact that you're single, lonely, wish you had a man. Of course, try to empower yourself and get out there in the world and make a change in your behavior so that hopefully you can land a man. Like, in that sense, it's good. But don't try to skirt accountability and the consequences by saying, like, maybe it was just meant to be that I'm single. No. Like, you took actionable steps day in and day out that landed you a older single woman at 37 with no man. You chose a career. You had suitors when you were younger. You were focusing on things that didn't matter for the long term. You gave up all prime to a corporation instead of a husband. And now you're left 37. Like, you got to work the rest of your life. You got to build up a pension. Your eggs are dried up. You probably can't even have kids if you even wanted to. Then you have to go on in vitro and God knows what else. Do you even have the cash for those kinds of expenditures? And by the way, the older you get, those percentages are horrendous, guys. They're like 30%, 15% success rate. It's horrendous. Just because you went and paid for in vitro doesn't mean, like, full story, you're getting pregnant. Baby guaranteed. You just secured a newborn. Absolutely not. With in vitro, your success rate is horrible. Medical intervention is not the answer. A lot of women think they can just prolong this stuff. In biology, it doesn't matter. And they could be 35 plus, 40 plus, and not gonna have a baby with in vitro and medical intervention. Like, no, it's statistically improbable. That just gives you a shot, potentially, as opposed to trying naturally and having no shot. And that's after spending tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on where you live. But women just got finessed in the most major way imaginable. They derive their happiness from material possessions, the bags they collect, the shoes, shit that gathers dust in their closet, and they think that is equated happiness. Wow. But children are evil. It's a constraint. Marriage is evil. It's a constraint. Men are evil. It's the patriarchy. It's all a constraint. Emotional labor is what they call marriage. Wow.
Prompts people
Stop
to
there for
ponder.
a second and what? Listen, Legion of Men is on a roll. He's literally telling you the playbook. And if you don't want to listen, it's up to you. But here is the deal that I learned earlier on today. When you hit 40 and you still want to have a child, the chance of that child being having developmental issues, uh, having developmental issues, potentially having Down syndrome, being problematic in terms of his behavior, in terms of his abilities, it goes up exponentially when you hit 40. That's what they're telling you. That's why my man's telling you you don't want the heartbreak after 40 or in your later years of your 30s. Maybe it's okay just to stay single, because what's to come is dangerous, and it's not it's life changing. And what you may get may not be what you want. This is this is serious, people. It is serious. Stuff that you should have had under control while you were when you had your youth, beauty, and fertility, especially in your 20s. You wait until your late 30s and then your early 40s, and then you say, "Oh, I want to be a mother." Okay. $10,000 a shot for in vitro for fertilization. And that is, as he says, a potential shot in the dark of you having kids, let alone what their condition will be when they get to you. Just saying. It's a roll of the dice, people, when you hit 40. An absolute roll of the dice. And my Chinese colleague already said it. Maybe it's okay if you just stay alone. Maybe it's okay if you're part of that 50% of women who are single by 2030. It's coming. It's here. And as he said, you're going to have to be relying on pensions. You're going to have to be relying on you working longer than necessary. That's right. Get ready to start working into your 60s, into your 70s, into your 80s. Because your money isn't good enough. Because you wanted to be a boss babe when you were younger. Get ready. It's coming. The Chinese lady, the Chinese ladies already realize this, and they are self-confessing to this. They understand that they messed up. Would you hear that from the West? Hell no. The copium is real, it's live, it's online. It is dopamine that's fed into your system through commercial television, movies, television, all there. The media wants you to think that you've got it all, even at 40, even at 50, even at 60. Just keep spending. Just keep spending. Oh well. Let's continue.
Whether women's pursuit of a career has surpassed their desire for a happy life. In society, many people are so immersed in competition that they neglect the warmth of family and love. This also leads people to reevaluate the importance and significance of marriage. While a career is important, a healthy family and happy marriage are also worth striving for. Nowadays, more and more older single women are openly seeking marriage on social media. On July 19th, a 36-year-old single woman, Miss Zhou, posted a video on Douyin.
感谢豆爸爸把我这条推荐给全国的单身人士。
Thank you, Douyin, for recommending my video to single people all over the country. Many people have commented, saying I'm brave to come to this platform alone to find a partner, facing all the doubts, confusion, and ridicule. It's not about being brave, it's about being responsible for myself. Don't believe sayings like, if you build it, they will come. I know too many excellent women who are still single despite their age. I don't want to be an internet celebrity, but if exposure brings me more visibility and helps me find a partner faster, it's a blessing. So we all need to be a little braver. Happiness is something you have to seize, fight for, and strive for.
来到著名的皇家公园向
I love these Chinese women. At least they're fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, submissive. At least they're that. Now their standards are quite high, but at least the one thing that they really are accountable. They're accountable. They understand that life as they get older isn't in their favor. It isn't in your favor. as a woman, west, east, north, or south. Anywhere in this world as you get older and living on your own. Believe me, I've seen enough videos of women into their 50s and into their 60s. They want to be held, and yet they can't be. They should have concentrated on this years ago, and yet, when the nights get cold and the door closes and no one's there to protect them outside the police, which may take 15, 20 odd minutes to get to them, they understand. When they could have had a family around them to surround them with protection and provision, a man around them who would be a structural leader of a family. Yeah. I'll give these Chinese women credit. They did bite the apple in terms of career, of taking career first and literally, deciding on a family a bit too late. But one thing they do when they realize they made that mistake is they are accountable for their actions. They said, I messed up. Would someone take me, please? But there are stipulations to that confessional. And we're going to find out about that soon. Let's get going.
Today, I came to the famous Shanghai Royal Park matchmaking corner to try my luck. It's 9 a.m. and there are so many people here. It's really hot, and I see parents who are incredibly worried about finding partners for their children.
Stop there! Yes! That's the one thing that the East has over the West. They actually have matchmaking corners. An innovation that I'm sure China and most of the Asian world has in and of itself, where there is a park where everybody would convene at, where they would, well, share their children, their unmarried sons and daughters, and their parents are there to do the sharing. Let me say that again. There are parks. Let's say you're at your local park. You walk on in, you find this collection of mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters, all trying to meet each other to start some sort of matchmaking ceremony, cultural phenomena. Never would happen in the West. I mean, that's left to, again, matchmakers and such. That would be left to the internet. But this is done live. Everybody shows up at these parks, gives, shares the details of their son and their daughter to try and make a match. Because, again, parents are still very much a part of the matchmaking process in the East, especially in China, especially in Asian countries. Same happens in Japan, same happens in South Korea, same happens very much in India. Parents are very much a part of the matchmaking process. It's only in the West where it's decentralized because, again, a woman's allowed to choose, right? Let's continue.
Today, I feel there are many excellent girls here, many with PhDs who studied abroad. I feel like I'm out of luck. If such excellent people can't find someone, it's even harder for an ordinary person like me. This 36-year-old intelligent beauty, Miss Zhou, is 1.75 meters tall. She's publicly seeking marriage on social media, challenging herself to find a partner in 100 days and to get married in 200 days. She hopes to...
Stop there for a second. And what do you notice about these women as well? They're fit, they're feminine, they're fit, they're feminine, they're friendly, they're cooperative and submissive. They don't miss a beat on that. They don't miss a beat on that. They may favor their career, yes. They may want to get, they may want to have certain advantages of their education, yes. However, when it comes down to it, these women are still fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, submissive. There's still that. You don't find overweight women in China. You don't find more or less obese women in China. It's a no-no. No-go zone. Where 51%, especially of our black women, are obese. And they're wondering why they're having trouble finding a man. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Now, listen, I'm not saying that there's not a fan of said obese women. However, it is not the majority. It is a distinct minority. Distinct. Extremely distinct. You will never find that in China. Ever. If you ever look in this video, find me an overweight / obese woman who is up for marriage. It's unheard of. Most of these women are coming in at about 110, 120 pounds. Rarely do you get 130, 140 pounds because they realize that basically eliminates you from the category of marriage. Eliminates you. And yet, here we are. Here we are. Fully confessant women of the East who realize that in order to find a man, they need to be, the first thing about it is you need to be fit. Seems the women of the West, well, hell, I've already talked about that at length. Let's go.
To find a compatible partner who shares her pursuit of a spiritual life, but reality leaves her feeling helpless. Since June 1st, when she first posted her video, over 50 days have passed, and she has posted more than 40 episodes, yet she has not found a suitable man. Will Miss Zhou succeed? Another 36-year-old single woman, Xiao Han, is also publicly seeking marriage on Douyin. But her criteria might make potential partners shy away. I only have 4 requirements for a partner.
Okay, before
First,
she gets...
settle down
Okay, stop there for a second. Before she gets to the 4... her 4 criteria for finding a partner. First of all, like, subscribe, comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Please, if you're enjoying the content tonight. And we're sponsored by Duntalk, DUNTLK.com. We're on a roll here, people. We're finding out a lot about the West. Now, here is the caveat. This is where the East meets the West. And you're going to start seeing that more often than not. And that's why you're going to find out why a lot of these women are considered leftover women. Listen to this.
Shanghai area. I don't accept long-distance relationships. I'm in Suzhou, and it's okay if you settle down nearby. If you're from another place, you need to buy a house and settle here. Second, you must be good-looking, pleasing to the eye, and no shorter than 1.7 meters. Third, you need a stable income, with an annual salary of no less than 300,000 yuan before or after taxes, which proves your ability to earn a living. Fourth, we need a betrothal gift for marriage, but I'll match whatever you give as a dowry. Can you meet these 4 requirements?
Stop. That's what it means. The East meets the West. Women still adhere to the rule of 6. They still adhere to the rule of 6. They want a man of a certain height. They want a man that's good looking. They want a man who can pay, has a household, so he has, the 6-figure salary. He want a man, they don't talk about the sexual part, but they also talk about a man who's in shape, 6-packs. So you got the 6-pack, you got the 6-figure income, and you have to be good looking, and you need to be at least 1.7 meters tall, so at least 6 feet. Any difference with the West? Hell no. That is pretty much where the East meets West, is that a lot of these ladies still have, especially as they get older, high expectation when it comes to a man. And it's leaving a lot of women in the cold. Let's continue.
Xiaohan's criteria for choosing a partner have inspired reflection on social media. Her views reflect those of many older single women. As they age, gain experience, and succeed in their careers, their requirements for a partner become higher. A counselor at a marriage agency believes that the difficulty older single women face in getting married is because they view themselves.
By the way, that was 41,000 and some change, about $42,000 a year is what her salary requirements were, for those wonder.
As luxury goods, sticking by their standards indefinitely.
任何一个大龄女生被
I
剩
mean,
下，
that's reasonable enough that she's asking for a man who's making $42,000 a year. So there's still a financial stipulation, but it's, I would say, rather reasonable. But however, she does call for a house. She does call for a house. She does ask for a man to be good looking. She does ask for a man to be of a certain height, 1.7 meter, which is about, let's see. Let's see what 1.7 meters is in terms of height, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live. 1.7 meters in feet. Yes, there we go. I think it's she seems a bit, well, let me see, in feet. God. I didn't ask for that. I said 1.7. Oh my God, what are we doing here? All right, 1.7 meters in. Let's go with the height. Gosh darn it. 66 inches, which is what? In feet. Oh my God. Really? Not 146 million feet. Jesus Christ, on a motorbike. All right, let's do this. 1.7 inches. Oh my God. I asked for meters, and these guys are giving me inches, which is amazing. Meter. Thank you. 1.7 meters is 5'5". Okay, so you're 5'6". Reasonable. Again, reasonable. You're asking for a $40,000 a year man, but again, in terms of Chinese, this is a high bar to reach, especially under the Chinese economic circumstances. It's hard for a man to be. Well, listen, a lot of men tend to be a bit shorter in China. So again, 5'6" is a reasonable height. However, it is of a reasonable height. However, it is you're trying to I think she's being rather reasonable, but again, it's still of a high standard in China, to be fair. And a lot of people had something to say about that. So let's get back to it here. All right, let us continue with the story here. Yes, indeed.
But see, anyways, the problem is always the same thing. It's what they're demanding out of the partner. You won't do long distance. The guy has to move there. You also have to make this amount of money. That's fine. Cool story. But what do you bring to the guy? Like, men watching these videos, sure, they'll go, yeah, she's attractive. I would pick her. But what does she have to say? When she opens her mouth, it's what causes the ring to never materialize in her life. Because you're not offering a man you want to be stay at home, you want to raise his kids, you want to give him massages, blowjobs left and right, plenty sex, happy energy in the house, cooking all the time, raising his kids, taking a load off everything he needs and has to think about in his life besides work and making money. I mean, if you're not speaking a man's language, you're not showing how you make his life easier, you're just another expense, a burden. So no surprise you either can't hold on to a man or no man even wants to give you a shot. You can't even walk through the door with those kinds of requirements. First, in order to get a customer, you have to offer them something they want to buy. You have nothing that they want to buy.
都是因为性价比太
Great
低。
point
Any
raised
older
by
single woman.
the Legion of Men host here. Are women of China, are women of the West giving men something they want to buy into? And for the most part, it is not, especially of a man who's of a certain value, of certain worth. I mean, if you're a bum on the street, I totally understand why women have certain standards. However, it must be said that a lot of these career women won't be home to keep their man's belly full and balls empty. They're gonna have their own careers. They're gonna have their own lives, and it's gonna prove tiresome to a man. You won't be adding to his life. So therefore, why would he invest in you? Why would he want to go to work for you? I mean, a lot of men ask for arm candy. That's fine, but the fact of the matter is, I think what Kevin Samuel says is very, very true. You go down in looks to go up in cooperation, and they would much rather have an average-looking girl than a stellar girl who is only looking to siphon funds away from a man, funnel her divorce settlement away from a man before the divorce settlement actually happens. It's a waste of time, and the men aren't going for that anymore. That's why a lot of men have checked out. That's why a lot of women are starting to feel effects of men checking out, because there have been a lot of bad examples, including the family court system, that have left men pretty much destitute, and they don't want to have to pay the price anymore. Remember, a lot of divorce settlements are passed on to the man, and a lot of guys do not want. They smell bullshit, and they don't want any part of it anymore. They don't. They literally don't. And they want to check out. So it is important, especially for men, for them to vet these ladies. Vet them thoroughly, because a lot of these ladies are coming with nothing to the table except their vaginas, and it's not even good some of the time. So if she doesn't satisfy you in the bedroom, what's the point? Is she just important eye candy here to take your money? That's basically it. And for them, leave them for recreational use only and move forward, as many have said on this channel before. And it's the same as it is in China. Let's continue.
Who remains single has a low cost to performance ratio, according to a male member who recently broke up with his girlfriend. He said that older single women who consider themselves high quality, regardless of how beautiful, educated, or free they appear, have unrealistic expectations if they're still single. Those wanting to marry don't want to marry them, and those wanting to marry them aren't good enough in their eyes. It's all about having too high expectations when it comes to marriage. I said to him, women who are beautiful, highly educated, and earn incomes should have advantages, right? He sighed and said, she's beautiful, but so are 20-year-olds with lower demands. She graduated from a top university, but there are plenty of such graduates in big cities. She earns 20,000 yuan a month, but she doesn't share it with me and instead uses it as leverage to demand more money from me. It would be better if she earned nothing. She promises to have a child in 5 years and raise it well, but who can know if she can even have a child in 5 years? Young women are beautiful too, and they can raise children without being so materialistic. He also said that men in the age for marriage should avoid women over 35, as luxury items are rarely bought. Besides, many women think they're luxury items when they aren't, which is the real issue. With a growing number of older single women, parents are often the most anxious. They push for marriage.
Okay, just before we get to that, I couldn't have said it better myself. Unless she is of a rare breed who can keep your belly full and your balls empty the way you like it, and she will do it at every beck and call, most of these older ladies aren't worth it. They're not worth the squeeze. They literally aren't worth the squeeze. They aren't. You're much better to get with a woman who's maybe a generation, maybe 5 to 10 years your junior, who does not have that sort of boss babe motif around them, to put it lightly, and who's willing to work with you in order to meet you where you are and move forward with your life so you can grow together and build not only a family, but a positive structure, a stable structure of family life, and potentially and allow you to do and to perform your passions with the utmost vim and vigor, knowing that you have a wife at home who's loyal and who will respect you. There it is. Rarely do you get a woman who's over 40, 35 who's willing to No, I'm willing to pour myself into you. I'm willing to satisfy you. I'm willing to be fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, submissive to you. Not without a huge price to pay. There it is. Not without a huge price to pay. Unless you're willing to pay that price, a lot of these ladies are going to be a burden rather than a help. Such is the Western dating world as we speak. And also take into account that most of these women are looking for you to spend instantly, automatically, as soon as you meet each other. They're not willing to compromise. Problem. Huge problem. And so a lot of men are either checking out to the east, where such women are available, or, even if they're older, or they don't want anything to do with you. Again, 2030 is coming. Let's continue.
Because they hope their children will settle down early and have a companion to care for them. Parents think that marrying someone with decent qualities is enough. Love is too fleeting. As long as the person has no bad habits and is reliable, that's sufficient. However,
Do you see? Do you see the standards of the older generation? No bad habits and is self-sufficient. That's enough. Love is garbage. You can learn to love someone later. Would they make a good partner? Do they earn money? Can they sustain themselves? Do they have good qualities, good habits that you would want to pass down to your children? Jeez, man. Told you, we live in such a greedy society today, man. Can you juxtapose that with what they ask for on like social media here in the West of like well, he said this. This is an ew. He talks this way. Ew. He wore that hat sideways. Ew. He earns less than this much. Ew. He goes to the gym too much. Ew. He didn't capitalize his words or this punctuation was off. Ew. I didn't like his chain. That was gross. Ew. Gave me the ick. It's crazy. And people get into relationships here in the West, if they even manage to, and they're the most toxic, broken, ridiculous setup that you could ever imagine that leads to both people using each other and both people coming out of that failed, whatever you want to call it, nowadays their situationships, with damage and trauma and baggage that they'll bring into their next relationship and on and on and on and on it goes, bro. The cycle does not stop. That's why I tell you guys to look for women with good fathers in the household present, attached, strong, nuclear families, maybe religious in some sense, but owes herself to a higher power, maybe something spiritual, doesn't have to be religious. Grew up in a stable household, and the father wasn't just there in the house, but present, active in her life. And is she smart? Does she have self-esteem? Does she have healthy self-esteem? Is she a critical thinker? Is she self-aware? This is extremely important because it doesn't matter. You get the perfect household and all that stuff, but if self-awareness isn't there, like she doesn't have a baseline IQ that's needed to be a critical thinker, and the phone that she's constantly going through, all that stuff is influencing her in the most negative ways imaginable, that stuff is going to trickle down into your relationship and destroy everything you've ever built. Bro, that's the real mind virus of the world today. You have to get people that are mentally strong. And unfortunately, as women go, most of them are mentally weak and getting weaker and more dependent on the system and more dependent on the dopamine hits from social media attention. They're addicted to the internet worse than men are, obviously, with adult entertainment. Just as bad, but damn, society actually pushes girls from a young age with social media and the message and how a woman should look and how she should dress and how she should chase her career and what actually matters. Like, they get bombarded with propaganda day one.
for educated women,
Wonderfully put there by the Legion of Men. Wonderfully put there by the Legion of Men. First off, it's true. The way that women rate men and dismiss of men is an absolute travesty. They'll dismiss a man for him having his hair out of place. They'll dismiss of men because he's wearing the wrong shoes that day. They'll dismiss of men simply because he did not pay the bill in the right way. They'll dismiss a man because of his phone. Because he has an Android or an iPhone. They'll dismiss a man because of his phone, people. Because why? Because women are group thinkers. If it disagrees with the group, guess what? They don't want any part of it. If it doesn't look good to their friends, guess what? For the most part, not saying that all, but most women are very much group thinkers. They're not independent thinkers. They're not critical thinkers, as Legion of Men already said. So guess what? Any slight, where the wind blows is where the decision lies. That's modern women today. They are not critical thinkers. And it's a shame. It's an absolute shame. But that's the West for you. Especially when you have women who are absolutely hardwired to their phones and they are influenced by what they see on social media. They are terrible critical thinkers these days. And most women, and with the statistics of single motherhood out there, it is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. They think the latest trend will automatically impact how they meet men and how they search for men for their life, where their parents, be it from the baby boomer generation or Gen X generation, would tell them that a man is worth more than what's in his wallet or how he looks on social media. These women today are clueless about it, and so he is right. Legion of Men is right. You need a woman who has a constant father within their lives, who has some sort, who are critical thinkers, who have an education, yes, but has common sense on the other side as well, who are religious, who can indeed tell the difference between right and wrong, and do not be a victim of trends. And you know what usually, how you can usually decipher who those women, the good women are from those who need the most assistance? I'll tell you, it's the one with the fathers in their lives. Because they're the ones who are usually telling them, this and this and this are most important, this and this and this are not. I will vet a man for you. But a lot of ladies would rather do it themselves, and they talk about feels and reels, and then all hell breaks loose. Mistakes are made. They become single mothers, and on the odd occasion, on more than the odd occasion, because marriage statistics are going down. It's now 50% of couples are married, 50% are not. Single motherhood is on the rise. And we're raising a generation into the future where women don't have the coping skills. Women don't have the sense of wherewithal from a father. They don't have the stability. They don't have the system order structure, as my good friend Mr. Samuels once said, and also Ms. Cure once said as well. She's always said about this. You need a system, order, and structure of a man. But yet, men are seen as redundant, right? Even ordinary, good, honest, dyed-in-the-wool men are seen as not good enough unless you can bring a six-figure salary, unless you're 6 foot tall, unless you have a six-pack, or unless you have 6 inches or more. Funny that. Absolutely funny that. And a whole raft of men who would have made good fathers are out in the open. We'll talk about that, what happens to them, a bit later. Let's continue. Oh, we have a few comments here before we go on. I saw my man Kareem in the comments. Let me get back to him quite quickly. Here we go. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, Kareem, you are of good height. Good to see you. And again, yeah, you are of good height, my friend. Don't worry, you're 5'8". But for the West now, that remains to be seen. Let's continue.
Marriage cannot just be settled for, and their unwillingness to settle gradually turns them into older single women. Their view of marriage differs significantly from the previous generation, with the biggest change being their increased independence and emphasis on spiritual needs. In the matchmaking group for those aged 25 to 40 in China, women far outnumber men. This seemingly counterintuitive outcome is hard to believe, but after verifying through multiple online channels, the data on the male-to-female ratio in matchmaking across major cities is approximately 1 to 9. At the Wangsong Academy Matchmaking Corner in Hangzhou,
Did you get that? That's what this video is all about. When it comes to dating from age 25 to 40, it flips. Yes, there are more men than women in China. That is well known. However, when it comes to dating, those of a dating age 25 to 40, that flips on its axis. Then you start seeing the real statistics. Then you start seeing more westernized statistics where for every one man, there are 9 eligible women. 9. Especially if you meet the standard of good earning man. You have 9 women to choose from. 9. And I don't see much difference here. I really don't see much difference here. In my lifetime, I really don't see much difference in that. If you're confident, intelligent, and assertive, guaranteed you're gonna find yourself a good woman. Guaranteed. But those men are few and far between. You must be a protector and provider. And again, the rule of 6 can rule against you. Let's continue.
a mother forcibly dragged her 35-year-old daughter to a matchmaking event. The daughter reluctantly said, "I don't want to go." The mother ignored her, dragging her to an older man who was looking for a partner for his son. Upon hearing that the man was born in 1979, 13 years older than her, had a house but no car, and was a local from Hangzhou, the daughter's face showed disinterest. This Anhui woman continued to visit the matchmaking corner several more times, hoping to find a suitable partner. It's Saturday again, and I'm at the Wangsong Academy matchmaking corner in Hangzhou. It's crowded with people seeking love, some for their children, others for themselves. I found a place to stand and waited for my fate to come. People come and go, and occasionally older men and women come up to talk to me.
嗨，大家好。
Hi,
Stop for a second. Did you just see that woman and how she was trying to sell herself? She had a sign over her neck giving the details of herself. That's unheard of here. Literally, a woman literally goes into matchmaking corner in China, in any city in China, be it Beijing, be it Shanghai, and literally hangs a sign on her neck saying that these are my statistics. This is what I'm working with. This is what I've done. These are, hopefully I can find a man. Or you have mothers and fathers literally dragging their children out to these matchmaking corners to see if a man can be found. Simply unheard of here. But that's how serious they take families there. And that I see as a problem. They realize that family is everything in China. Here, family is not worth the paper it's printed on. And to those who think that, well, they're left to suffer the vagaries of their choices. The vagaries of, well, the Gynocratic oath that's the matriarchal oath that says that you are strong, independent, don't need a man. Right? When that's where the East meets the West. The women of the East realize that they are deficient and they need someone to take a chance on them. I know people like that. They will go nameless, but I know people like that. And listen, once you've confessed your sins, it's much better for you to deal with someone at face value. But you'll never find that from a Western woman. You'll never find that. They'll never be accountable to themselves. There are a few that will, but most won't. Because the media, social media, and generational traditional media will tell them that there's nothing wrong with them, that their choices are legitimized. It's okay. Those people won't be coming to help you when the nights are cold and lonely, and you have to fend for yourself. Don't mean to cast fear on things, but these things happen. Yes, the police is there. Yes, the fire is there. Yes, the ambulance are there. The emergency services are there for you, which mostly consists of men, but these men will take long and come. There's not one in-house who can officially quell an issue for you. But that's the choice you made, right? Let's continue.
Everyone, let me introduce myself. I'm from Lu'an, Anhui, born in 1989, the year of the snake, and still single. I'm looking for someone to spend the rest of my life with. Although I'm
Still
already 35,
single.
I still have a
Accountability.
girlish heart and yearn for beautiful love. Many say marriage is about finding someone to live with, and over time, it becomes more about kinship. Some say don't set your standards too high, and just find somebody to get by with. I've been weighing these options. Many who've been through marriage say love isn't what's important. What's important is that the person is good to you and responsible.
Imagine all those videos they see on social media of women getting married and they have like lavish weddings and surprise parties, and like you're comparing your unmarried, single, bitter ass life, and then you're going to say things like, that's what I deserve. I'm not going to settle for anything less than the best that I've seen on social media. And that in turn, that comparison is the thief of joy, because you're never going to get anything like that. You set standards so unrealistic and so high that no man wants to meet them because you're 37 and trying to demand shit that maybe a 21-year-old influencer got because she's naturally beautiful and has a huge following and models for a living and managed to bag a rich dude. You're 37. You got to take what you could get. Could you even give your man a child? Like, you have to somehow alleviate these problems for a man to take you serious. Like, I know I'm 37. I don't have much to offer but a career, which doesn't matter to you because you're going to be paying for everything anyways. You want me to be a stay-at-home and raise your son or daughter. I understand. It might cost us a lot of money. I will pay for all the medical intervention required to get myself pregnant because I've waited this long, so you won't have to shore up any of your money to make that happen. I'm accountable for that. Women, this is how you need to start talking to men, because I see older women as like, wow, you're going to cost more just to do the same thing a younger woman can for free and no problem, and the kid will come out healthier. And this is just statistically speaking.
Stable life is all you need.
Wonderfully said. Right. Women have got to be better negotiators. You do not have the upper hand when you are in your mid to late 30s. That is gone. Even Ebony K. Williams, with all of her bravado and, well, let's call it machismo, she had to have a come to Jesus moment. She didn't want a deal. So, she was left to her own devices to have a child. So was Naomi Campbell. She was left to her own device to have a child because no man was going to pay for a child for her. Hell no. Hell no. As masculine as these two ladies are, you think a man's going to come and sign up for them? No. We will treat you as is necessary, as a recreational device. Sorry to put it that way, but this is how men think. We're very, very brass tacks in terms of our terms. So maybe a little more blue pill than others, but again, women have made their choices. They're not willing to negotiate. They're not willing, as Kevin Samuel says, to come to the table and broker the peace. And realize that, okay, I've made certain decisions in my life. They weren't great. So here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to do such, 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 and such. I'm going to make sure that your belly's full and your ball's empty. I'm going to help with in terms of the pregnancy. I understand that, you're not dealing with a woman of clean recognition. I'm willing to negotiate. You'll start seeing a lot more. I'm willing to sign a prenup. Let me say that again. I'm willing to sign a prenup in order for me to be taken seriously. Are women willing to negotiate? I know you like sex a certain way. I will allow you for certain days off the grid, as long as you come back to me. That's another incentive that a lot of men would take. You're allowed certain days off every quarter. Well, I will look the other way. You have your fun as long as you come back to me. You will be amazed how many men would take that deal. I'm trying to give you game, ladies. I'm trying to give you game. How many men would take that deal? For your hard work and for you, for taking on a person like me, I'm willing to do such and such and such. But again, women want to be single, independent, don't need a man. They say that they need to love them and only them. And they're consider themselves 22-year-olds when they're actually 37, 38, 39. The ball is not in your court anymore. The dating world is not in your court anymore. Sorry, it's not. I'm just trying to tell it like it is. Tell it like a TI is. You have got to offer men incentives to come by you. It's like, I don't want to compare women to this, but I'm just using this as an analogy, so please calm down in the comments. Comment below if you like the show and what your views of it are. But it's like selling a used car. You're not a car, ladies. But it's like selling. For a person to come and buy you to come to buy a car, they're going to have to lower their price. They have to lower their standards. They're going to have to offer incentives to take it off their hands. You can't sell yourself like new. No man will take that deal. Just letting you know that. No man is going to take a car that has so many miles on it, that oil leaks, that the timing chain runs funny, the transmission needs repair. You need a new exhaust. You getting it? I'm trying to put this in brass tacks, ladies, so that you understand. You are not cars, you are women. I understand that. But that's what men see you as. They won't take bad deals. They will not take bad deals. And you, as a lady at 38, thinking that you are the same as a 22-year-old, and if you have children from somebody else or from different set of men, that you could rate yourself as high as a person who doesn't have any kids, is low miles, and can be driven today for a fraction of the cost. Well, I wouldn't say a fraction of the cost, at a higher cost, but at least the higher cost is warranted. Because that's how men think. They think, okay, you got a car with a lot of miles. What are you willing to do in order to sell yourself? What are you willing to do as a woman to sell yourself? Are you willing to be there and cook and clean? Are you willing to help with any sort of in vitro fertilization? Are you willing to allow men some days off? Are you willing to allow a man to allow him to do as he wishes, and I wouldn't say do as he wishes. Allow a man to be a man for certain periods of time instead of coming home to another lady. Are you willing to be fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, submissive, and with other incentives? If you are not, stay single. Stay single. If you are not willing to do these things, ladies, I'm telling you straight out, stay single. It's fine. It's all good. We'll all invest in wine and cat food, and we'll profit from your loss. But those are the things you got to do. If you're unwilling to do them, why are you here? Let's continue.
Others say you should marry someone you love deeply because marriage will bring many challenges you've never considered before, and if you don't love him enough, you'll become unhappy, bitter, or even depressed. Since I've never been married, I really don't know which path to take.
杭州大龄女生为什么会泛滥成灾？
Hanzhou has an overflow of older single women because they take the top criteria for men as their minimum standard. At the matchmaking corner, and once
Stop there. Run that back for just a second. I want to repeat what he just said. There we go. Yes. I'll let it run from here.
the matchmaking corner in Wansong Academy, you'll find that 90% of the profiles belong to women in their 30s, and nearly 70%.
Stop. We'll go back a little further.
Considered before, and if you don't love him enough, you'll become unhappy, bitter, or even depressed. Since I've never been married, I really don't know which path to take.
杭州大龄女生为什么会泛滥成灾？
Hanzhou has an overflow of older single women because they take the top criteria for men as their minimum standard.
Stop there. Hangzhou. Well, let's go back right.
Considered before, and if you don't love him enough, you'll become unhappy, bitter, or even depressed. Since I've never been married, I really don't know which path to take.
杭州大龄女生为什么会泛滥成灾？
Stop
Hangzhou
there. Hangzhou has an overflow of older single women because they take the top criteria for men as their minimum standard. If that is not dating in modern day around the world, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. Ladies and gentlemen, that's dating around the world. In most matriarchal feminist nations, they take top criteria for men as their minimum standard. He must make it's the rule of 6. There it is. He must make $100,000 or more. He must have $100,000 or more. He must have a 6-figure salary. He must have a 6-pack. He must be 6 feet or taller, and he must have 6 inches or more. Minimum standards for ladies these days. And you see it repeated over and over and over again. And you wonder why women aren't winning, because there's a whole cast of men who've been treated unjustly and have been basically eliminated from the dating market because they don't meet those minimum standards. It is absolute lunacy. It's lunacy on steroids. It's lunacy on steroids. I'll let my man continue.
An overflow of older single women because they take the top criteria for men as their minimum standard. At the matchmaking corner in Wansong Academy, you'll find that 90% of the profiles belong to women in their 30s, and nearly 70% of them are in their 30s. Their consistent requirements are: men must be at least 1.75 meters tall, look decent, be within 5 years of their age, have at least a bachelor's degree, own a fully paid house and a car in Hangzhou, earn at least 300,000 yuan a year, have no bad habits, and be attentive, fit, and caring. I asked a girl nearby if these standards were too high. She said, "Without money, how can you support a family? Without a car, how do you get around? Without..."
Stop! Does that sound familiar to you, ladies and gentlemen who are in the audience? That's basically the West. There it is. That is basically Western dating come East. How can you live without a house? How can you get around without a car? How can you live without a certain amount of money? How can you? Instead of taking men for face value, remember 70% of all the ads that go out into these matchmaking corners, matchmaking parks, come from women. And yet that is their minimum standard. The highest standard is their minimum standard. How can a man win? I'll tell you, he doesn't. So a lot of men just leave the dating establishment all over again because it's not worth the squeeze anymore. You're not finding good women anymore. It's I just heard this saying again the other day. It's hoflation. It's hoflation. You're getting a woman who's lesser in standard than their mothers for a higher price. Less in standard for a higher price. What man wants to participate in that? That's why the MGTOW generation, that's why the red pill generation is growing leaps and bounds, because the juice ain't worth the squeeze, and the standard of women is falling precipitously. Let's continue. Especially in the West. Not so the East. Let me say this. Let me preface it by saying this. Not so the East. I would think the standard of women in the East is a higher standard. Let me say that because they don't have a hoe phase like they do in the West. The age of discovery, as ladies would say. They don't have that. They would indeed preserve their virginity / they would keep their numbers very, very low. However, their standards are still very, very high, and if not untenable in certain circumstances. Let's continue.
All the girls here have the same standards. If I set my standards lower, I'll be outshone by others. But if everyone has such high standards, who can end up with a partner? In Hangzhou, men who meet these criteria are scarce and snapped up quickly. Why would they come to a matchmaking corner? Even though the women here are decent, with houses, cars, and savings.
There's an answer for you. There's a really good answer there, in that the best of men don't have to go to these corners. The women will present themselves to these men. And so they're snapped up quite quickly. Same in the West. The high value men that are out there, they don't have to promote themselves. They are already snapped up by women who are fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, submissive. Done. They don't have to do the work. They present themselves and away you go. Start planning your future. And until women come to Jesus and realize that they have to negotiate with the men of the world, well, not to say that these guys have to be bums, but I'm talking about men who are of good value or of sterner stuff and who are willing to negotiate with you. Well, the dog and cat are waiting.
The men have these too. What advantages do older single women have? Quality men have a broad choice, and unless a woman is young, good-looking, and has standout advantages, why would a man choose her?
In a big city matchmaking market, especially in parks with clear pricing for matchmaking, it has become a place for bargaining. Currently, the marriage agency's registrations also show more women and fewer men, with women generally being older. This is similar to matchmaking in parks, where appearance, work, education, and family background are all considered. Perhaps these conditions are part of what constitutes love. A traditional Chinese custom says, a man should get married on coming of age, and so should a woman. This has persisted for thousands of years, especially for women. However, this traditional custom began to break down after the 20th century. Many people believe that due to the long...
The 20th century being the advent of capitalism, especially in the West. That sort of standard started breaking down. And even the standard of women, well, achieving more, well, let's call a spade a spade. At the advent of feminism, those standards started changing. Women started getting married much later. They started having ages of discovery more often. and their standards started becoming higher. So again, hopeflation began. Let's continue. Let's continue.
Term implementation of the one-child policy and the preference for boys over girls, there has always been a situation in China where there are more men than women. According to authoritative data from demographers, the gender ratio in China is 117 to 100, with 30 to 40 million more males than females. Official data also shows that in 2021, the number of single people over the age of 15 in China reached a record high of 239 million. The number of marriage registrations hit a historic low in 2022. A survey by the Chinese Communist Youth League in 2021 of about 2,900 unmarried urban young people found that 44% of women do not plan to get married. Many women.
There it is! Where East meets West. Marriages are down, more single people out there, and women's standards grow. Same as the West as it is in the East, in the biggest country in the East, that is China. And you can also say Russia as well. Same standards, same thing. No difference. Let's continue. Even in
women, after
communistic
giving up
countries,
on marriage,
no
form a
change.
stable single life. On Chinese social media, if women in their 30s or 40s post with tags like no marriage, no children, they often receive thousands of likes or more. It's important to
That's a beautiful market that's up and coming. Ladies, do you hear that? In America, it's going to be the same thing. China's obviously a much bigger market by population alone, and you should be taking your cues if you want to be the next superstar on social media. No marriage, no kids. Start hashtagging yourself that because it's going to explode.
understand that leftover women are not
Damn.
single because they can't get married, but because they refuse to marry for the sake of marriage. Professor Su Xiaoling from the University of California, Davis, believes that this choice is related to women's educational levels. She said, women with a college education become more determined to assert their rights and social status. Well-educated
There it is. The feminist blowback. Once a woman is more college educated, she wants to extend her rights, which she has a right to do, and they want to exert their careers. They want their investment in their education to pay off. So that means, at the end of the day, a delay in terms of their seeking out of relationships and marriage.
women find it increasingly difficult to find suitable men who share the same
That has nothing to do with education, asserting in your rights, being held down in any way. You're just not attractive. This is the bear in the room that nobody wants to talk about. You're just not as hot as the 20-year-old. It's a fact, man. The dating apps will tell you that. Men from all age ranges just flat out think a 20-year-old woman is hotter than all the rest. 20 or 19, I forget what it was, the graph was showing. But women have a nice slope as they age. Men about 5 years older than them look the hottest to them. So a 35-year-old finds a 40-year-old the hottest. A 25-year-old finds a 30-year-old the hottest. And so on and so forth until it hits about a peak somewhere 45, 50, and then you don't get hotter after that. Father time comes for you too as a man. But that's the brutal reality that nobody wants to accept. It's like men, when looking for marriage, when starting families, your education doesn't mean shit. Your achievements at work, what position you hold, how high you are up in the company, like none of this matters. Are you going to be a good mother to my children? Can you even have children healthily? Well, if you tell me you're 37 years old, the answer is obviously not. What does your money do for me if you already expect me to earn a decent amount of money to support a family? Nothing. And this is what Western women don't understand. You've priced yourself out of the market. Why not snatch up some 22-year-old chick that just graduated, doesn't really care that much about a job and a career building and all that, and she maintains herself and she's very feminine, young, friendly, and fit over the 34-year-old chick that has a career, is higher up in the company, makes her own money, and they have the same exact demand. Maybe the 30-something-year-old is more demanding, on all accounts is usually is, but also brings far more baggage from dating an extra 10 plus years of being played, of being pumped and dumped, developing a bitterness and a hatred for men and couple, and her position in life, being lonely and starting to collect cats. I mean, it's just men rather avoid that dude and deal with a woman that doesn't have all that drama attached to her.
same views on what
There it is. He's right. I mean, I'll say this. As a 30, is for most women, that is indeed the case. What he just said is indeed the case. Some you get older women who are still fertile. However, you know you're flying way too close to the sun. Then you have to. It's either shit or get off the pot. But as a 22-year-old, and your three pillars are very, very much alive, stable, secure, and you are at your hottest. As he said, and I'll complete the statistic. It's men consider women 19 to 24 to be the hottest they can be, the best looking they will be, the more, the more susceptible to being mothers and wives than they can be, as at 19 to 24 years old. Not to say that you can't be such things into your late 20s, into your early 30s, mid 30s, but the fact of the matter is, if you're in your 30s, you better start making deals. You've got to be a deal maker. You got to be a deal maker. Are you willing to lower your standards a bit for a good man? I'm asking women in their 30s. In their 20s, I get it. You still hold hegemony. You still hold sway in the sexual marketplace. But in the dating and relationship states, men usually are the judge, jury, and executioner, and will decide who are those for recreational use only, and those who are for marriage and are worthy of our protection and provision. And if you're not willing to make deals, you tend to be with the former rather than the latter. There it is. Whether in the West or the East, same thing.
Women's rights. She also said there's an excess of highly educated women, but a shortage of highly educated men. Many leftover women have high standards, viewing many men as unambitious or...
Again! What she says right there is true. There's more highly educated women than highly educated men. There tend to be more, as in the West than in the East, there tend to be more women with bachelor's degrees than men. Yes, 2 associate degrees, bachelor's degrees, women rule the roost because women tend to be 2 to 1 in terms of college, university attendance. However, for higher degrees, such as masters and doctorates, that's where you start seeing men come to the forefront, because men are willing to pay the price to be in those positions. Not to say that women don't. There are women who won't do so as well. However, that's when things tend to sway towards men. Men tend to have more masters. Men have more doctorates because they realize that there is a financial award to be had for having such degrees, especially in the medical, especially in the business world.
lacking prospects. They believe that their knowledge and talents require men who are financially secure, good-looking, and high of character. However, in reality, most men are ordinary, and high-quality men have a wide range of choices and often marry and have children early. Many Chinese men often compare a woman's youth to fruit. The fresher the fruit, the more buyers it attracts. As the fruit sits and withers, its price drops.
How true is that? A lot of ladies in the West will absolutely slate men for thinking such things. But it's the truth. The longer you're left on the shelf, the longer you're exposed, your value decreases. As it is with this apple. The minute you cut it open, your value decreases. Because as a woman, your value is seen for your youth, your beauty, and fertility. The longer things go, the more bodies you accumulate, the less oxytocin you have in your body, the less chance of you, the less chance of you forming fulfilling and lifelong relationships with men through marriage, the lower your value will be. As is with this fruit. As with this apple. Sad but true, ladies. You don't want to admit it. Feminism won't stop the vestiges of time and the result.
Eventually, even at a big discount, it still may not sell. This is the current situation of leftover women. A leftover woman would complain, "There are no good men in the world. I haven't met any man who meets my standards." However, the increase in the number of leftover women in Chinese society will inevitably lead to a rise in leftover men. These women often live in their own fantasy, often have high-paying jobs, and are economically independent, allowing them the option to remain single. On the contrary, leftover men are different. First, there is a large absolute surplus of marriageable men, and they are often at a disadvantage. Their main problems are economic and cultural disadvantages, social exclusion, and discrimination. A deeper phenomenon is the current instability in China's employment situation, which makes men afraid to get married. Without a stable economic foundation, they cannot afford to start a family. This marginalized social group is likely to bring significant negative impacts on society. If there's a sudden event in society, such as a civil dispute, a conflict between officials and citizens, or mass unemployment, these leftover men could be the main force behind serious social conflicts. In fact, in recent years, these leftover men have been linked to many instances of mass violence in society.
We called
Stop that right there until we have the final word right here. Yes, it happened to Alex Manassian. Remember that example? That's the guy who got into a white van and drove down Yonge Street sidewalk. He was an incel. He was unloved. He was unclaimed by a woman. And the more you have feminist societies, and the more that men are emasculated and considered not part of the sexual marketplace, not part of the dating marketplace, and therefore ineligible for marriage, guess what's going to happen? Crime will rise, and men will start taking matters into their own hands, as Mr. Manassian did. Start killing loads of people because he's highly depressed. See, women who are highly depressed, they have safety nets for, such things. For men, you're asked to literally kill yourself. To basically end your life. You're basically ended to self-expire. You're asked to self-expire. But before leaving this earth, what a lot of men do is take a lot of people with you. Why do you think all those mass shootings in the States are usually men with not much to show for things and who have been ostracized from society? That's part of the reason why I will never live in the United States for that reason. However, there are more ways to skin a cat. There are more ways to eliminate certain parts of society, and that's been seen time in and time out. And you see it every day. The amount of sexual assaults out there are way up. And I don't wish that on any woman. But that's what happens when men aren't allowed to be a part of the sexual marketplace. Men tend to be very, as she said, very, very much of counterculture of society and start being a little less obedient to government and to law and to emergency services, and they tend to take it out on society. Random society. Women of society. Unfortunately. Leftover women, they're usually left to their own devices. They won't raise much hell. There is a extended family that will take care of them. There are extended services that will take care of them. Not so As I said, the statistic in terms of the UK, in terms of open beds for those who are victims of domestic violence, there are thousands of beds for women, only minimum amount of beds for men. And that is a shame. But that is what's happening in not only the West, but now the East. Don't be too surprised to see some of those harrowing and tragic stories that frequent the West start happening in the East right now. I'll let my man finish up.
That one a few years ago when I told you guys the more and more this group of men grows in society and the more they're ignored and politicians don't care and women aren't seeing the writing on the wall. Like the moment something happens, the economy collapses. The moment something like unemployment shoots up or inflation or war or something like that, the destabilization of society is going to come from a lot of these men. Like social change will be a massive upheaval if one of these flash in the pan moments for society happen. We haven't reached that point yet. Everybody is still being like drip fed dopamine and like, just drooling on themselves. Like, I got brand new shoes, I got a brand new video game, I got a ton of adult entertainment, I got just enough stuff to keep me pacified so that I don't do anything. But that's largely deteriorating all around us with mass tragedies that are happening, especially in the United States. They're becoming common. Degradation of the moral fabric of society. You see it all around you. We just had an attempt on a president or ex-president's life, and more politicians are going to start feeling this stuff directly. We're going to become a more lockdown, security, authoritarian state to try to stabilize things, but that's the wrong way to go about it because you're not addressing the underlying issue, which is the fact that these men are economically left behind and their numbers are increasing in such a dramatic amount with nothing left to lose. Why not tear the system down is what they're going to think. Why not completely shun the labor market and not participate in minimum wage slavery? What is there for me? Even if I do get an entry-level job, I can't support a family. Women don't want me unless I'm 6 foot, making 6 figures with a 6-inch pipe or larger, yada, yada, yada. They won't look my way anyway. So a lot of these men are demotivated. And you get these demotivated men with a lot of time on their hands and a lot of dark thoughts and a lot of bad things start to happen. Mark my word, you'll see. Some of the comments say, most men are ordinary, most women are ordinary. Most men know they can't afford to get married. It's sad that these
That's the key right there. Most men are ordinary, most women are ordinary. But most women who are ordinary are only looking at men with value, the Chaz Tyrone's high value men, and they're not looking at everybody else. Who could protect and provide. They're not looking at all these others here. Then you'll see the negative aspects of society start rearing their head, as has been happening in the States, and it'll start happening around the world. And government and women beware, because you will be, and even citizenry, beware, because as was seen by most of these shooters in the States, even the one who tried to assassinate the former President Trump, most of these guys aren't guys who got laid regularly. They aren't. Women deemed them useless. Society deemed them useless. A lot of dark thoughts. And guess what? Heaven help us all. I'll let him continue.
Women don't marry for love, companionship, and life, but want money, houses, car. And it says, women, the key is not to find any man to marry with. The key is to find a man with values, not money. Yeah, you're speaking to the choir. They're all under the hypnosis of social media. They have to show their lives. Their man is basically a barometer, socially speaking, of how much they can flex on their girlfriends. Like, my man does this. My man earns this. Like, my man is better than your man. That's all it is, man. It's a competition for them. We're just trinkets to them, unfortunately, in the modern dating world. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see you on the next one.
Great interview. Great post there by Legion of Men. Subscribe to Legion of Men if you so wish. I think he's doing wonderful things in the YouTube streets, and he is speaking the truth. Let me just bring it back to myself, and we can end the show. Ladies and gentlemen, it is definitely no joke that This is a harrowing, harrowing tale. What's happening in China and what's happening throughout the world, and that is men are deemed as redundant. And the more that men are deemed as redundant, it is another problem society will have to deal with. Innocent people will have to deal with. Women will have to deal with. Because what keeps a man rather sane, rather together, rather with it in terms of society is regular sexual and relationship contact with women. If a whole cast of men are eliminated from said category, I mean, women, there is not much to fear from women. We get it. But a lot of angry, unsexually satisfied men who are lowly paid and who are considered losers to many, they tend to have these dark thoughts and take it out on society. I have no doubt a lot of these shooters that go on in the United States and throughout the world that take out a bunch of people, unfortunately, are men who have been neglected by, not only by the economy, but by women in and of itself. It's not to say that it's not their fault. They have to take full responsibilities for their actions, but I bring back the example of Alex Manassian and those around him. He was an incel. He was not considered a good mate going forward. And guess what? Guess what? He got in a van, drove on a sidewalk, and killed tens of people before he actually surrendered. All because, now this is a Toronto incident, that's why I'm bringing it to the fore. This is what happens to men who feel that they are worthless and they can contribute nothing to society and nothing to a relationship. A man like Alex would have potentially had a woman, or if not married, 30, 40, 50 years ago, when marriage rates were high and things were more traditional. Not anymore. These men are left to their own devices. And as he said, idle hands are the devil's playground. So I leave it there. I thought that this, there are a lot more similarities than differences. Just to bring it full circle, and just to summarize what we've just seen, I thought that a lot of women there are totally accountable for their where they are in life, where their milieu, their milieu is in terms of society, in terms of where they stand within society. They put too much emphasis on their careers. Their standards were too high, and at the end of the day, they weren't chosen. Very much like the West. However, one thing that these what these Chinese women, these leftover women there understand is that they are accountable for their actions. Women of the West will blame men for the fact that there are no good men out there. No. At the end of the day, it is you. A man can't turn around and say, there are no good women out there. No, you can't do that. Men have to be accountable. But women will go down to their dying days, a lot of women, for the most part, will go down to their dying day thinking that it's man's fault. They didn't find the right man. They didn't meet to my standards. Therefore, he's responsible. Okay. Well, 2030's coming. And to all those ladies who say such things, or to all those ladies who would subscribe to the Alphabet Society, good luck with that. Because, number one, that society is not gonna be able to protect and provide for the most part. Number 2, we need to have a frank conversation in terms of where society heads after this, even in China. Because even though it's a very conservative society, a lot more upheaval will start happening there as well. Because a whole slew of men would be deemed as surplus to requirements and will suffer from the darker side of their humanity. And so, there we go. Leftover women. Start, or any woman of a certain age, start negotiating with your men. I beg of you. Start realizing that you have a finite ability in terms of finding a man, let alone keeping him. You are at the point of a withering piece of fruit. You need to start offering incentives to this man because the miles on you as a lady, do not wish to be disparaging. Let me say this. You as a lady have a lot of years on you. You need to understand that a man of a certain value will not take you on, or a man of any value will not take you on unless you're willing to negotiate. Be it cooking clean, be it have a prenuptial agreement, be it having days off from the institution of marriage, or working out something where both of you could participate in such days off. Those are what I have to offer. And it is hoped that society will start listening and stop turning men away from relationships due to what social media and what groupthink would allow. And what the rule of 6 will get you. Because a lot of these good men may turn bad. You're not going to like the end result. And you only have to look to the east to understand. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk to Talk Live. It was a longer show than usual. I thought it was going to only be an hour. It lasted into 2 hours because I had a lot on my chest and a lot on my mind, and it got out there. So thank you very much for joining me on Talk to Talk Live. We'll be back tomorrow for another show. I appreciate you all joining me. Thank you, Chanel. Thank you, Lana. Thank you, BK. Thank you, Kareem. Thank you for all of you who joined me tonight and offered and contributed to the show. I appreciate that. And we will reconvene tomorrow with another. I don't know what the topic is tomorrow, but we will get that out there. We're going to have a Talk Live minute on this, and so we will get that out there as soon as we can. So thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And I'm going to grab something to eat, and we'll see about a little gym later. But again, getting a bit tired here, so I'm just going to have a little relax and think and get going. All right, so thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live. I look forward to speaking to you again tomorrow. And the Blue Jays lost yesterday, so today. So anyways, they had a 3-0. Why am I speaking like football? Anyways, nonetheless, at least my Bills won. At least my Arsenal did well this weekend. So again, thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live. We'll see you tomorrow, and I'll say goodnight to my people here on Instagram. Good night from Toronto. And thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live on IG and YouTube here on YouTube. And we'll be back tomorrow night. And looking forward to seeing you then. And hope you learned something tonight. And but again, we're going to get another show out